Hello everyone, welcome back to Agent Nagash, which is a channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar, and in this video we're going to be returning to the Gloomspite Gitz in the Age of Sigmar Army Archive. And in this video we're going to be looking at the command traits for both basically the trolls and the spiders of the Gloomspite Gitz, and also the artifacts for them both, and the spell lore for the spiders. So we're going to start off with the command traits for the spider fangs, and these are marks of the spider god's favour, and these are for scuttle boss only. So command trait number 1 is monstrous amount, double the number of mortal wounds that are inflicted by this general's spider venom ability. Okay, firstly this is quite interesting because usually all these command traits and artifacts don't benefit the mount unless it specifically says so, and you don't really get many circumstances where they specifically say it benefits the mount, and this one does, so that's nice. Double the amount of mortal wounds. Yeah, it's cool, because that's one of the things with the spiders. Their mortal wound down point with their bites. It is something you can work towards. Hopefully I always look for, when I'm looking at command traits, like I said before, in artifacts, unless you want to make a really sledgehammering unit, and the spider effect, they don't really have that. I mean, like, they look big, the big spiders, but they're not overly powerful. So I would personally look for one, hopefully, that there's going to be one in here that benefits your army and gives more synergy to it. But yeah, that's not bad. Number 2 is Masterful Spider Rider. Add 2 to the move characteristic of the general. That's good, because that just makes them much more faster. I mean, even if you look at the big spider, so this is the Ragnarok, and I know there's a few versions of the Ragnarok spider now, isn't there? There's not just like one or so, but that moves a standard 8 inches, which is really quite slow, especially with such a big model. I know it can move over terrain stuff, but it's still a big model, isn't it? So just making it now move 12 inches, huge difference. You're adding a third onto its move characteristic, so that is good. Then of course you've also got the scuttle boss on the small spider, which is going to be benefiting even more so. And then number 3, you've got alternating battle cry. So subtract 1 for the brave characteristics of enemy units while they are within 9 inches of this general. Could be useful if you want to go for a bravery bomb. Yeah, other than that, probably not that good, unless there's loads of things you can stack on as well in the Gloomspite Gitz to lower their bravery. Number 4 is tough and leathery, so add 2 to the general's wounds characteristic. See, now that is nice, because if we go back to those Ragnarok spiders, and of course like talking about the one with the hero on top of it to be able to take the command trait, you are looking at not a bad amount of wounds. Now you've got 16 wounds. That's very tanky, especially the enemy might be putting a bit of firepower into this, and just makes them survive that bit longer. So I've mentioned this one when I looked at the Loom Boss command traits. That is definitely one worth considering, in my honest opinion. So yes, so there's that, and then number 5 is Dead Shouty. So again, this is similar to what we saw for the Blessings of the Bad Moon for the Loom Bosses, but again Dead Shouty. So once per battle round, this general can use a command ability on their war scroll without a command points being spent. So yes, quite useful. What I will say at this moment in time, so I do apologise, I did get a few things wrong just now. I was presuming that the Shaman on the Arachnot Spider is a Scuttle Boss, but as far as I'm aware, looking at it now, it doesn't look like it is, so it is only going to be for your Scuttle Boss or your Gigantic Spider. So apologies, ignore what I said about the Arachnot before. But anyway, so being able to use a command point for free with his war scroll, so that will be the Ride 'em all down, which if I read it out now, so you can use this command ability at the start of your charge phase. If you do so, pick one friendly Spider Fang Grot unit wholly within 8 inches of the model with this command ability. You can reroll charge rolls for that unit in that charge phase. In addition, you can reroll hit rolls for attacks made with that unit, crooked spears, in the following combat phase. Yeah, that's what reroll the charge rolls is good. And then reroll with the crooked spears. I mean, you would rather that be for the spider bite, wouldn't you? I mean, the crooked spears aren't their best attack, so it's all right. Yeah, it's not bad. Reroll those charge rolls again. You're doing that for free, and I know there's a command ability for you to be able to do that anyway. However, with this, it means that you're not spending a command point, and reroll the hit rolls with the spears. You know, it's all right, isn't it? You know, it's better than nothing. You know, I mean, like, if we take a quick look at their attacks now with the spears, it's 1 attack, hitting on a 5, winning on a 4, no rend 1 damage. So what that means is that your to hit characteristic is pretty poor. So reroll all failed hits. You know, it's a good thing, isn't it? So maybe get a few of those through. Right, and then the last one, number 6, is Creeping Assault. Enemy units do not receive the benefit of cover against attacks made by friendly Spider Fang units while the friendly units wholly within 12 inches of this general. Now, if it didn't have to be wholly within 12 inches of the general, if it's just within 12 inches, I'd say maybe it's worth it. However, I mean, it's good. If the enemy's in cover, I mean, it's good. If you're playing against a Wanderer's army, they're probably going to try and be in cover all the time. So, it's useful, but it's just a bit sad how that's the main one that synergizes well the army. I know Dead Shouty does as well, but it's just a little bit... I understand it, but wholly within 12 inches, can it be wholly within 18? Just, yeah, it's a little bit annoying. So my favourite ones out of all those are the Tough and Leathery, because then that's going to make your Scuttle Boss on his mount, on his Gigantic Spider, have a wound characteristic of 8 rather than 6, which doesn't sound like much, but when the enemy, there's lots of things out there now, the enemy can do d6 more wounds to you, or even just a flat 6 mortal wounds to you. At least you know that that's not going to kill your general outright. So yeah, I'd say that's worth considering. That's one of my favourite ones. And then the +4 to movement to make him movement 12, which for his size is pretty fast. And yeah, Dead Shouty is good, but maybe Dead Shouty is the best one, because then you can use the extra command point for making things run a flat 6, making things pass battle shock. So yeah, maybe Dead Shouty is up there as well. So probably Tough and Leathery and Dead Shouty are my favourites. Right, okay. So then we're going to go into the... I think we'll go into the artifacts for the Spider Fang heroes. And purely just because like it keeps good continuity, doesn't it, if I do that, rather than just going from the spiders to trolls to the spiders to trolls. I think, yeah, this is the best way to do it. Okay, so looking at the Venomous Valuables, which they're called, which are Spider Fang heroes only. So the first one is Artifact of Power. So we've got a Totem of the Spider God. So this is a wild-friendly Spider Fang unit. It's a whole within 12 inches of the bearer. The Spider Venom ability causes mortal wounds on a unmodified hit of a 5 instead of a 6. Now, off the bat, I would probably say this is the best one there's going to be. However, remember the Spider Venom ability from the Bad Moon Rising. If your unit's affected by it, your Spider Fang, it does the same thing. You do the mortal wounds in a 5 rather than a 6. So, it's... just bear that in mind, you know, like, if this does sound good, but you might be getting the ability anyway, so it just might be a waste. However, your Spider Fang unit might not be under the glare of the Bad Moon, so you can really concentrate a Spider Fang unit within range of your hero to get this ability, especially if you've got a the guy and the Ragnarok. And I'm double checking just to make sure he is a hero, so he can take an artifact. It's like the last time I got him confused with being a spider, a Scuttle Boss, even. Just looking at it now with the Shaman. Yeah, he is a hero. So, yeah, that's good. So, basically, we're wholly within 12 inches of him. Yeah, Shaman's holy, but that means that that's quite a big base. It's quite a lot of range. Alternatively, you could put it on your Scuttle Boss on foot, as he's a bit more sneakier. You know, the enemy might not target him as necessarily, and makes things, you know, smaller range, but it means you can have him targeted with a unit just to make sure they will always get the bonus from the Totem of the Spider God. Okay, and then moving on to the second one is Headdress of Many Eyes. And this is subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target the bearer. That's really good because you're subtracting 1 from the enemy shooting as well. So this is going to be on your Scuttle Boss on Gigantic Spider, and he's not a monster. I am just going to double check that to make sure, because I don't want to get things wrong again, because that's really annoying. Yes, so he's not a monster, so the enemy tries to shoot him, and he's within range of, you know, within 3 inches of I think it's within 3 inches of a friendly unit with 3 or more models. The enemy are -1 to hit anyway because of the Lookout Sir. And with this, now going to make the enemy -2 from shooting. In combat, it's going to make them -1. It's going to be good for your Arachnoid Spider with your Shaman on top of it, because he's not going to benefit from Lookout Sir. With this, he technically is, and he's get a better version of it. So yeah, I do like that. That is a good one. That's always useful. There is a interesting topic about, you know, like minus to hit and stuff, which I will get to in another tactics video, I think. But yes, that is a pretty useful one. Right, number 3 is a Black Fang. So pick one of the bearer's melee weapons. The unmodified hit roll for an attack made with a weapon is a 6. That attack inflicts D3 mortal wounds on the target, and the attack sequence ends. Do not make a wound or save roll if the weapon already inflicts mortal wounds on a roll of 6. Add a D3 to the number of mortal wounds it inflicts instead. Okay, that's right. It's not in additional damage, unless it's already doing the mortal wounds anyway, but it just makes them a bit tougher. Like if we Like I said, I'm going to properly review all the units for the Spider Fangs when we get to those videos, but I'll just have a quick look, just see what the attacks are like for the Scuttle Boss on his gigantic spider. So his attacks himself, only doing 1 damage. Nothing really to shout about. I mean, like, he's got 4 attacks, -1 rend, but the force hit, force of wound, only 1 damage there. So something to be desired, I think. So, like I say, this guy's not going to be your combat boss. I mean, even the gigantic spiders is exactly the same as the guy riding it in its attacks, basically. Apart from it gets +1 to wound and it gets a lesser range. Weird how it gets a lesser range than the rider. But anyway, so your heroes for your Spider Fangs are not going to be sledgehammers, so you don't necessarily want to build them up that way. Right, okay, and then number 4 is once per battle at the start of the second combat phase, you can pick 1 enemy unit within 3 inches of the bearer and roll a dice. On a 1, there is no effect. On a 2 to 5, the enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. On a 6, the enemy unit suffers D6 mortal wounds. I'm not a huge fan of this either, just because there's always a chance for a 1 and then nothing happens. It's pointless. 2 to 3, D3. D3's good, but you need a 6 to get a D6. And I'm not really a fan of the once per game abilities, if I'm honest, just because, especially when they're not, when there's a chance of nothing happening, and they're crazy for competitiveness anyway. And you have to be within 3 inches, so you have to be in combat. I think there's better artifacts out there for different armies similar to this. So yes, not the biggest fan on that. Right, okay, number 5. So we've got Kuta, if that's pronounced right, probably not. So once per battle at the start of the combat phase, you can pick 1 enemy wizard within 3 inches and roll a dice. On a 2-up, that enemy wizard suffers D3 mortal wounds. In addition, for the rest of the battle, subtract 1 from the casting and unbinding rolls for that wizard for each mortal wound that was inflicted. Oh, for each mortal wound that was inflicted. That's more interesting than just what I thought it was going to be. It was just subtract 1 just in general. So that's useful. That is just trying to think. So if you're using this for, and the enemy's got, I don't know, a Garrote Shaman or a Necrom, there's something really basic, it's not really worth doing. However, if it's against, okay, I'm going to say it, the Nagashes of the world, the Archaons, all that sort of thing, that can make a big deal. Especially how, if this is like just a little hero in range of him, and you've also surrounded him with like loads of your Spider Fang, standard spiders, he's probably going to attack that unit before he attacks your hero. So your hero could quickly do this, and if the hero dies later, or once, well, to be honest, at the start of the combat. So I read it wrong. So it's at the start of the combat phase. I think I said it's the start of the second combat phase. So yes. So what that means is that you don't have to attack first. You can do it, boom, even if he kills your guy. Let's say this guy does it against, let's say the perfect character, so Nagash. He does D3 mortal wounds against Nagash. He causes 3 mortal wounds to him. Nagash doesn't manage to save any of them because he fluffs all of his save rolls, for his mortal wounding. Now, what that means is that Nagash is going to be -3 to casting. Again, this is the best case scenario, but -3 to casting. Doesn't matter if he kills your boss afterwards. He's going to be -3 to cast for the rest of the game, which is probably worth it. Especially how, you can say like he's +3 to casting, so that counts it out. It does until he starts taking damage. And like I said, I went to a tournament lately, and I ran Nagash, and he dies quite a few times. So that's not terrible. But it does have to go on a 2-up, so on a 1 it will fail. Right, number 6 is Web Strong Cloak, and this means that enemy units cannot retreat if they are within 3 inches of the bearer. Okay, I think that's really good, especially for armies. A lot of armies that hit and run, they hit you, even if they get bogged down, they just want to run away to get to another objective, they don't want to be stuck with you. You can just, charge their fucking front line, or whatever you want to call it, and just make it so they can't run and get behind you and take your objectives. That is really big, especially if it goes in something like an Arachnarok, which I know, it's got, 14 wounds, I believe, the Ragnarok. It's a bit big, it's a bit, it hasn't got the best save, all those sorts of things. However, it's going to hold up the enemy for a while. So that's quite good, and it's a big base. So yeah, I do like that. So my favourite ones for this is probably the Totem of the Spider God, because you might not always be affected by the Curse of the Bad Moon, or the Bad Moon Rising, I think it's called. And the Headdress of Many Eyes, to make the enemy -1 to hit you in combat and shooting. And the last one I talked about, so that's the Web Strong Cloak. So this enemy units cannot retreat if they are within 3 inches of the bearer. Probably my favourite one out of all of those is potentially the Totem of the Spider God, just to give you that benefit to your Spider Riders. Because yeah, you do get affected if you're under, you know, like I said, the Rise of the Bad Moon ability. But if you're not, it's a really, really good ability to have to always guarantee you've got it, pretty much. And yeah, they're my 3 favourite ones. Okay, and then we're going to look at the laws for the spider. So this is going to be the spell law, and then we'll get to the Troggoths afterwards. So the first one for the law of the spider fangs, and this is for spider fang wizards only. And the wizard on the Arachnot Spider Bleeding costs 2 spells, so that's something to bear in mind. Makes them pretty effective at that point. So the first one is Deadly Weapon. So Deadly Weapon has a casting value of 5. A successfully cast will pick one terrain feature within 23 inches of the caster that is visible to them. Until your next hero phase, that terrain feature has the Deadly and Sinister Scenery rule in addition to any other scenery rules it already has. Spider Fang units ignore the effect of that spell. Okay, so firstly, something to remember here is that Spider Fang units ignore the effect of the spell. Your Gloomspite units, other than Spider Fangs, are going to be affected by it, so just remember that. There's a big difference there. So, firstly, it's within 24 inches of the caster, not wholly within, so that's good, and those scenery pieces can be quite big, so good thing it is like that. And yeah, treat it as the Deadly and Sinister. Sinister -1 to Bravery, and then Deadly, I believe, you roll a dice for each model that runs or charges through it, or runs or charges on it, and for each one you roll, for each of the models, they take a D3 mortal wounds, I believe it is. So yeah, quite nasty. And they're making -1 to the enemy. Bravery is quite big, especially if you pick like a center train feature. And if you compare that to the command traits for the Spider Fangs, just going back to them now. So this is for your Scuttle Boss, which makes the enemy -1 to their Bravery if they're within 9 inches of him. And like I said, that's only really good if you want to go for a Bravery, but maybe you can with this. Very not that huge, but all in all, I don't think this is going to be the best one. I haven't read the rest, so I don't know. However, it's just because it's got good range on it. It's something you can do turn 1, but it just feels a little bit like, you know, it's going to affect your own units, and you don't want your own units in this army to be -1 to their Bravery for battleship purposes, or even when you're getting screamed at by flares or a Terrorize or something, or a Tomb Banshee. So for those reasons, you don't want to make yourself -1 to Bravery. So yeah, probably not the best one for me. Also, I would presume when first reading this that it would half the enemy's movement characteristics. This is going through a terrain piece covered in spider webs, and it's sticky. You know, you're stuck to it. You know, it's like Frodo when he goes into Shelob's lair. You know, that sort of thing. But obviously not. Right. Okay. Number 2 is a Venomous Spiderling. So Venomous Spiderlings is casting value 6. If successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within 12 inches of the caster and is visible to them. Roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in that unit. For each 6+, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. That's good, because the casting value of it's pretty good. It's a 6, so technically below the average on 2 dice. And yeah, I think that's pretty... Because also, it has to be within 12 inches. But if the enemy's got a block of horde of, let's say, 40 models, and then that means you roll 40 dice and 6 as you need, and that means, what, on average... What's that? You get 6, probably a bit more on the average, but you might roll really poorly, you might get none, you might fucking hate your dice, or you might roll really well, and it might be your answer to deal with horde units. So yeah, that's something it's always worth, I think, you know, to have in the back pocket. Right, okay, so the next one is Scuttling Terrors. Scuttling Terrors, casting value of 7. You successfully pick one friendly Spider Fang unit wholly within 24 inches of the caster. That unit can run and still shoot and charge later in the same turn. Okay, that's good. Cast on a 7, so higher than the last one. But that is the average on 2 dice, so you should get it. You know, not guaranteed, but you should do. Wholly within 24 inches. So wholly, but 24, a big range for sure. And it means that the unit can basically run in charge, how I'm looking at it, as the best way possible. And that is very good, especially how we looked at the command ability for the Scuttle Boss on his Gigantic Spider, which makes your Spider Fang units be able to re-roll their charge rolls as well as re-roll the hit. So they're re-rolling their charging, and they can run in charge. And if you really want to spend that command point, you can make these guys run 6 inches. So we have a quick look at their movement characteristic for the Spider Riders. I know you can put it in Arachnot Spiders, I'm not saying you can't, but Spider Riders is what I'm looking at. So they've got a movement characteristic of 10 inches. And without going too much into their War Scroll, Their drummer gives them +2 to run. So these guys can now run 8 inches and charge you and re-roll their charge if they need to. That's pretty fast, especially with these guys. You know, they haven't got, shall we say, they're not the most survivable in combat. You know, they're 5-up safe, so they want to hit you first. So this just makes them really fast. They can move if you wanted to. You want to spend the command points to it. You move 18 inches, and then you reroll your charge. So turn 1 charge potentially. So yeah, that's pretty good. Right, and then number 4 we've got sneaky distractions. So sneaky distractions says cast and value 7 is successfully cast until your next hero phase. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by enemy units while they are wholly within 12 inches of the caster. I'm not a huge fan of that because it has to be wholly within 12 inches of the caster, which, like I say, could be the guy on the Arachnoid Spider. Nice and big base. However, the enemy, it's going to, well, you know, he knows what the spell does and goes, oh, if he's got a big unit, you know, and it's sort of like within range of your big Arachnoid, is the example here. He might just go, oh, okay, I'm just going to make one model not within range, so that means that your ability is no longer going to affect me. The best chance of this is your enemy forgetting about it or forcing themselves to be within range of it, but I don't think it's as amazing as it sounds just reading off the paper. But if you get it off, it's pretty good because there's also that that artifact that makes the enemy -1 to hit you anyway. So, yeah, there are good things about it. Right, and then the next one is Curse of the Spider God. So Curse of the Spider God has casting value of 7. Is successfully cast. Pick 1 enemy unit within 24 inches of the caster and is visible to them. Until your next hero phase, hit rolls made for attacks by that unit always fail on an unmodified roll of a 1 or 2 instead of only a 1. And save rolls made for the attacks that target that unit always fail on a unmodified 1 or 2 instead of a 1. Okay, that's interesting. I haven't seen this ability anywhere else in the game, which is good. Yes, for sure. It's a bit of an interesting one because, like I also say, you know, 1's always fail. Now 1s and 2s, so that's always a third of the dice results are going to always fail, which is useful, especially if you're fighting against a bloody Stormcast army that has a 2-up save, re-rolling 1s. Now, you know, the 2-up save is not really a thing. It will fail on the 2s. So, yeah, I like that purely just taking against Stormcast. So, yeah, I do like that. Right, okay, number 6 is a Gift of the Spider God. So, Gift of the Spider God has casting value of 8. If successfully cast, pick 1 for any Spider Fang monster, so the Arachnoid, within 12 inches of the caster that is visible to them. You can heal D6 wounds allocated to that unit. Okay, that might be a good one, just to have, just in the, you know, like I say, the back pocket, just in case your, you know, big guy gets attacked a bit too early, bit too prematurely, and takes a lot of damage early on in the game. You can heal him back, which, yeah, you might only heal him back 1 wound, but you could heal him back a whole 6. So yeah, I do like that. So my favourite ones out of all of this is going to be the Curse of the Spider God. So this is the one to make enemy hit rolls and save rolls always fail on 1 and 2 for that unit you picked, and it's a unit within 24 inches, so a big range there. Especially, it is a good range, especially on the early stage of the game where the enemy can have some shooting at the back, and you can still make them fail their hit rolls on A2. Because I don't think it says combat. No, I think it's generic. So yeah, it works for shooting as well. So I like that. I like Scuttling Terrace, which allows your unit to be able to be able to run and still shoot and or slash charge later in the same turn. I like that. And probably the third one's going to the Venomous Spiderlings to be able to try and do a bit of damage to horde units. Yeah, not a bad casting value. But the Gift of the Spider God is good to heal back your Arachnoids. Especially if you're making them have well, you can't make them have more wounds, can you? But if you've got your Scuttle Boss, 8 wounds, it just makes them that more survivable to keep them alive. And yeah, they're my favourite ones. My favourite one out of all of them, though, has got to be the Scuttling Terrace, make you guys be able to run and charge. Because I've always said so much, movement is so important. Maybe I'll do a tactics video one day, just talking about how important the movement is, because it is absolutely massive. Right, so that is all the reviewing doing for the Spider Fang in this video, looking at their command traits and battle traits. So now looking at the trolls, or as they're known now as the Troggoths. So what we're going to look at first is their command traits. So they're called Fortress Troggoth boss traits. Right, the first one is, and just before we go into them, I want to firstly apologise if I get any words wrong. But I also want to say that these are probably going to be the funnest sounding artifacts and command traits in the whole game. Right, let's go into them. So the first one is Tough as Rock. So add 2 to the general's wound characteristic. And just to put that in perspective, if we look at the Dank Hold Troggoth hero, which is the ones who can take this artifact, we have got the Dank Hold Trog boss, and he has got 12 wounds already. So this will give him 14 wounds. And you know, he's a big guy, he's a big solid unit, but he's not a massively huge monster. So giving someone like that 14 wounds, he doesn't have a damage table. Really, really good. Yeah, just it'll be so fun. So yeah, I like that for what it is. The next one is Alpha Trog. So Troggoth units affected by this general's reassuring presence ability, add 2 to their bravery characteristics instead of 1. Yeah, that's good. That's, you know, let's, like I say, I'll review the Troggoths properly when I do their video, because they'll get their own video, don't worry. But just to give you an example, their bravery is 5, apart from like the Dank Hold ones, which are 6, and the what do you call it, the Morlog, which is 7. I know Morlog is a hero, so just checking, can he take it? These Dank Hold Troggoth heroes, yeah, he is a Dank Hold. Yeah, so he can take it as well. He can take these command traits, and this is Morlog, however his name is pronounced, is the one from the Shade Spire Warband. But I think we're all looking for the huge, big Dank Hold Trog boss for these, you know, command traits. And just so you know, that the Dank Hold Trog boss, if you're not trying to remember what one is that, it's the one squeezing this huge centipede with one of his hands, and then the other hand he's got a club up in the air with a spider dangling down it. You know, a lovely characteristic model there. Right, okay, and then number 3 we've got Loonskin. So this general counts as being affected by the light of the bad moon wherever it is located until it is removed when it reaches the opposite edge of the battlefield. Okay, so what that means is that if we just remind ourselves what they do for the Troggoths, so Troggoth renewal. So if all the models Troggoth units, you can okay, so it helps them to heal better. So you've got that, and then also remember, if your general is a Gloomspite general, that means that if he's affected by the Rise of the Bad Moon ability, he will get you'll get a command point at the start of your hero phase, and that just basically means you're getting a extra command point, which is nice for sure. So that is not a bad command trait at all. Right, okay, then looking on to the next one, which is going to be number 4, and this is Pulsifying Grip. So when you use the general's Crushing Grip ability, you can re-roll the dice that determines if the target is slain. So I'm going to have a quick look to see what that ability does, just to remind myself and read out. So Crushing Grip. Do not use the attack sequence for attacks are made by the Crushing Grip. Instead, pick one enemy model that is in range of the attack and roll a dice. If the roll is equal or greater to that wound characteristic of the model, it is slain. Okay, so basically it's the whole idea where, you know, you can pick up like a model and kill it, can't you? You know, the Giant's got it, the Star Drake's got it. However, usually you're looking at it and you think, well, it means that automatically, well, basically kills a 1 wound model, but you know, it's good against 2 wounds, or if they've got 3 or 4 wounds, that's cool. They can even take down like a 5 wound hero, but you have to roll, you know, a 5 and 6, and you're probably not going to do it. Well, you can re-roll it now, so it just gives you that more chance. I wouldn't say that's the best command trait here, but if you really want to play for fun and you really want to crush someone, then yeah, this one's for you. So number 5 is a Mighty Blow. So you can re-roll the dice that determines the damage characteristic for the general's Boulder Club. So the Boulder Club has 4 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, master rend, and d6 damage. And you can re-roll the damage. That one there is pretty good. I'm a fan of that. I also remember that Morlog, the like the Trog boss you get in your Shadespire team for the Gloomspites. He's actually a unique character. So yeah, I just remember that. So he won't be able to take any of these, which is fair enough. And you sort of just want the big Dank Hold Trog boss to take anyway, because he's the biggest and the strongest. Right, okay, and then The next one we're looking at is number 6, so Realmstone Studded Hide. So when you use the General's magical resistance ability, you can reroll the dice that determines the spell effect are ignored. So I'm going to look at that again, because again, I don't know too much about the Gloomspites. That's why I keep on referring to the War Scrolls, so I don't want to make up what the ability does. Right, so where are we looking? So magical resistance. So each time this general is affected by a spell or endless spell, you can roll a dice. If you do so on a 4+, the effects of the endless spell or spell on this model are ignored. So yeah, that's quite good. Being able to re-roll that. And then that is the last one. So my favourite ones out of all of them are the toughest rocks. So you get to add 2 to the general's wounds characteristic. I like the loon skin, so you get to benefit from the bad moon whenever. And I like the mighty blow, which allows you to reroll the damage characteristic. My favourite out of all of them is mighty blow, just because if I'm taking this guy, I'm taking for fun, and rerolling the d6 damage. I'd absolutely love to do that. So yeah, that's got to be the best one for me. Right, okay, then moving on to the artifacts. So looking at the artifacts for the Dankhold Troggoth hero. Now, I might not pronounce this right, so forgive me, but it's called the Glinty Gubbinsis that Troggoths found. Beautiful, absolutely brilliant, I think. Best wording ever. However, there are only 3, but I think the name has made up for the lack of artifacts. Right, so the first one is Shiny Whatnot. So roll a dice each time a mortal wound caused by a spell is allocated to this model. On a 6, that mortal wound is allocated to the caster of the spell instead of the bearer. If the mortal wound was inflicted by an endless spell, on a 6+, the mortal wound is negated and the endless spell is dispelled instead. I'll be honest, when I was first reading this and I was like, oh, on a 6+ you get to save against more wounds, it's not very good, but you get to do it back to the caster. That's huge, because there's a lot of sneaky wizards that like to hide the back and just do like chuck shitloads of damage at you from spells and like not expecting to take any bet themselves. Now this is quite good, because I mean it makes the enemy maybe think, oh, I'm going to do a spell against you that's going to do, you know, like potential loads of mortal wounds. Now, not really too sure if I want to do that. So yeah, there's something to bear in mind. And also, it's a great way to just get rid of endless spells, because your army doesn't have, well, I suppose you have quite a few wizards in this army to dispel endless spells, but if you can do it in a way without, you know, having to get a wizard to do it, it's pretty good. So yeah, it's not a bad one, this one. And then the next one, which is Glowy Hauswitz. So roll a dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to the bearer. On a 4+, that wound is negated. On a 1, the bearer eats the glowing houses and it cannot use it again for the rest of the battle. Okay, so that is good, because it's wound or mortal wound. It's a 4-up save against wound or mortal wound. Yeah, if you roll 1, he eats it and you take whatever mortal wounds you did, or wounds, and it's like a waste of an artifact. However, if you don't, a 4-up save against wounds, mortal wounds, really good. Like, probably going to be the best one here. Right, so number 3 is Pet Gribbly. So if an enemy unit attacks the bearer in the combat phase before the bearer has been selected to fight that combat phase, and then the enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds after all of its attacks have been made. Okay, that's quite impactful. Might make the enemy now have to think about where they want to attack first, and if you can make the enemy, like I've always said, you have to make your opponent make as many decisions as possible. They're gonna make a mistake, so that's quite good. But my favourite one has got to be the Glowy Hauswitz, because that allows you to have a 4-up save against wounds and mortal wounds. Yeah, on a 1 he eats it and then you can't use it, but yeah, I think that's definitely got to be the best one. And sadly, because of after that the trolls don't cast their own magic and all that sort of thing, so they don't have their own lore. I'm saddened by this for spells, but that has been the command traits, the artifacts, and the spell laws for both the Spider Fangs and Troggoths. So I hope you very much enjoyed this video. It's been really interesting reading through it. I know I made a couple of mistakes earlier on stuff, but that's, like I say, I'm brand new to this army, guys. So I love the models, but I'm brand new. So that's why I refer to the War Scrolls a bit, just to make sure to limit the mistakes I made in the reviewing. But I think I corrected myself every time. I haven't, please let me know down in the comments. But like I say, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. So that all does massively help the channel to grow, and it's absolutely free for you guys to do so. Really, really does help to a fantastic amount of level, especially for how much effort it requires. And if you'd like to support the channel a step further, I've now created a Patreon account, which is a way for me to get funding towards the channel without having adverts, because YouTube I don't get paid absolutely anything. I don't get paid at all by YouTube, especially I don't have any adverts on the channel, and I don't want adverts on the channel because it just ruins it, I think. So Patreon is a great way for you guys to support me. Anything you give is really, really helpful, even just $1. Some of that is massively helpful, and it all goes towards getting like new battle tomes for armies that I don't collect, and also for the armies that you guys already have that I don't have the battle tomes for. They're quite expensive, aren't they? So it really helps towards that. It helps towards getting better camera equipment. When I say better camera equipment, I just mean something better than an iPhone. And it also helps with getting a better microphone, because it would be really, really nice. And also just great for motivation for me to justify how much time these videos take for me to make them. So if you'd like to support me on Patreon, there'll be a link down below in the description of this video at the top of it. Really, really good way for you to help support the channel, guys, best way you can. And on that note, I'd like to say thank you to my vampires on Patreon. These are the tier 2 people, and these people who donate at least $5 a month. And this is going to be to Max, Martin, Kyle, and Simon. So again, guys, thank you very much for all your support and your continued support as well, which is the most important thing, which I really, really appreciate. More than anything, you are the guys who really help towards this channel and really make it for me to be able to produce as much content as I do. It really massively helps, and like I say, I'll probably be putting something into the Patreon account asking you guys what you think I should spend the like what money I got from Patreon so far, like put it towards a mic, something like that. I'll let you guys decide. But yes, guys, and also on that note, sort of like community based, I've also got a Discord channel. If you are aware of that, check it out on the link in the description down below. It's a great place. Everyone's having chatting about the hobby on it all the time, and it's a great place to sort of just ask questions and all that sort of thing. And yeah, so with that, Patreon is a great way to support the channel. If you can't support me on Patreon, don't worry, I understand, you know, not everyone has the mind to do it. But if you could just leave a like, subscribe, put a comment down below, it massively helps. And I just mainly thank you guys very much for watching this video. I hope you very much enjoyed it. And remember, until next time, Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.